intro?
Sure.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome to my weird looking home. I'm Matt. That's Ryan. Ryan's getting everyone kicked up, and I'm going to shake my camera because I am a poorly trained professional, even though I train professionals. So yeah, I was working on some data analysis because that's what we do here. We are data-driven, film confirmed, and today we are looking at our shadow teams and checking in on that, which I call AKA punching myself really hard in the testicles. So yeah, that's what we're doing. And if you enjoy people being hurt and weeping, then you're watching the right show.
In the right spot. Yeah, well, I'll let you get right into it, Matt, and I'll pop over here onto yours, and we'll get talking on yours here.
All right. So I guess the good news is it hasn't gotten any worse. Let me start with my ray of hope. Kamari Lassiter, one of my first picks, is currently the number 9 ranked corner according to PFF. So I have to admit, I have a star. I have a possible Pro Bowl, All Pro guy. I think we get comp picks for that stuff.
Yeah, we gotta look at that.
But Kamari Lassiter is doing well. Based off of last time, I lost a blue chipper. One of my blue chippers fell down to a star. So I have 5 stars instead of 4. I got 7 people who are above average. I have 4 people who are average, which is an increase. I have 5 who are below average, which is a decrease, and 6 who are just awful, which is a decrease. So I must say I have improved, but because I still got 3 guys on IR, I only have 4 qualified starters. Those are guys with 441 snaps or more. I have 9 contributors, which is a increase from my last update. And I got 3 guys who are getting some snaps, which is also an increase from my last update. One of those is, of course, Shedeur Sanders, who is you love talking about him. So right now, PFF has him at a 45.9. And I guess because he's on my team, I have to kind of offer my thoughts. I don't like, it would be hard for me to believe that Kevin Stefanski is maliciously trying to sabotage Shedeur. That being said, I think Dillon was his guy. I think he pushed Dillon because that was his guy. And I think that it was very hard for him to admit it was wrong. He was wrong about that guy. And I think that he didn't bear him any mind. Now, if you want to call that sabotage, then that qualifies if that's your definition. But I think it's more of, it's not malicious effort to fail him, more of a really malicious effort to ignore him until you couldn't. So, like, take that for what it is. I think Ryan would agree with me on that.
Yeah, my thing with that, too, is, like, I think they always had eyes on this year or next year. And we're just like, hey, let's swing a couple times and maybe one of them sticks, you know?
Yep. So then you get into his play, and I think that there have absolutely been indications of talent. There are big time throws every game, and I think there are indications of frustration. So what interests me most, and now I really want to do a thing, and maybe I'll finish this and then let Ryan talk for a minute and then do it. Yeah, I'm gonna. When I last looked, there was not a lot of distinction between Shedeur and Cam Ward. And that's not me insulting Cam Ward. That's me doing a comparison between 2 guys.
Yeah.
But Cam Ward went number 1 overall. So you're like, well, look at the special throws and look at what he can do on the field. And I'm like, well, then you got to look at that for Shedeur. You can't ignore what Shedeur did that was special, but only point at that. And then Cam Ward has plays where you're like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And Shedeur has plays where you're like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? I think both of them play hero ball because in college that is smiled upon. Ryan and I today did a study because someone put out data where Shedeur leads the league in pressures that are his fault. You want to know who's above Shedeur? Patrick Mahomes. Tell me he's bad. Go ahead. I'll wait. When you're a hero ball guy, when you're always trying to push the ball down the field, you're going to hold the ball and you're going to take sacks that you shouldn't. The difference is when it works more than it doesn't, you're Pat Mahomes, and when it fails more than it works, you're awful. But the mindset of I'm trying to make a play, I'm trying to make a big throw, then you have to take a risk. Now, can you align? Can you help Shedeur be more strategic about when it's time and when it's not? Can you remember that Patrick Mahomes had a Hall of Fame coach and everyone wants Kevin Stefanski fired? We don't know who we're going to replace him with, but we want that guy gone. That's a bad one, by the way.
Look at Caleb Williams. Like, he was objectively pretty bad last year, and I am still not as high on him as a lot of people are. But he is objectively much better this year with a coach that is trying to put him into a system that allows him to succeed.
So to finish the Shedeur conversation, and I have to have it because he's literally my quarterback. Now, he's my quarterback, but I need you to hear me. I am also the guy who literally, since summer, has been screaming Fernando Mendoza at the top of his lungs. I need you to understand, I'm the guy who built the Shedeur bandwagon. My YouTube video on him premiered before Todd McShay's, before anyone. I saw him and said, yeah, I saw him and said, wow, I think Mendoza, his ceiling is Aaron Rodgers. I need you to hear me on this. But I do not trade up for Mendoza. If he falls to me, I happily take him. I sprint to the podium. If he falls to me, I take him. You have to take him. But I don't trade up for him because he's not a trade up guy. He's a first round talent. He is a guy you should take. So it is one thing for me to have said on this channel, if you got a first round grade on a guy, take the guy. But that is not the same as if you have a first round grade on a guy, give up 3 first rounders for that guy. Those are different arguments. If he falls to you, you take him. If he does not fall to you, you do not give up extra capital for a guy. He is worth a first round pick. He's even worth a top 5 pick. He is not worth the rest of your future. No one in this class is.
Team.
Especially when you got another first round pick. You got 2 next year if you're the Browns, right?
I believe so.
So I am not advocating for Shedeur for any other reason than at worst, Shedeur is meh.
And don't forget, the quarterbacks are better next year.
Yeah, every year the quarterbacks are better. And Ryan knows I'm ready to launch. So I had to have that conversation because that's my that's my quarterback. I do think Shedeur Sanders has all the talent in the world. Now, personally, as a when I get non-objective with it, personally, I'm like, what do I, give the kid a shot, give the guy a shot, give him, maybe Stefanski is willing to, it turns out when I coach a guy, he's not that bad. Or bring in a guy who believes in him, build a team. And if you tank, then now we're talking Julian Sand. Now we're talking, Ty Simpson, Dante Moore, who I think should go back. He probably won't, but I would not take Dante Moore this year. I would take him next year. And then the USC kid there. Now, last year we thought that same thing, and you don't know, but you put yourself in the same position. You lose nothing except a season, and if you're not used to losing by now and you're a Browns fan, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, right.
So those are my thoughts on that. Ashton Jeanty is here's my compliment to Ashton Jeanty. He's an above average back on the Raiders.
Yep.
So I have these little rays of hope, and then I have these little rays of pain. Braylon Trice, I don't know if he's ever going to play it down.
Yeah.
TJ Sanders is below 40. Princely Emmanuel is below 50. And now they could turn it around. But it's not looking great. It's just not. Are Mickens and Ransom really going to be starters from here on out, or are they just starting now? I'm happy about that. I'm also elated. I need to say this out loud before I let Ryan asked me about the team. Brendan Crenshaw Dixon is getting snaps, and I'm elated. And I'm more elated because Wyatt Milam, who I was super high on, is getting on the field. So there's possibility where my O-line is really taking shape. But the last thing Ryan and I talked about today when we were just shooting the beans, linebackers, interior O linemen, safeties, we might have the greatest class in the world, but you're not going to find out until like year 5, year 6. It's just kind of how it works. So it's really tough to look at year 1 and year 2 and think high or low. So things I know Ryan wanted me to mention. Thing 1, do I feel like I'm set at any position? No, I am not set at any position. I have optimism for some positions, but I can take the number 1 guy on my board because I don't have any definitive answers with the exception of Lassiter, but I need 3 corners. So that's where that's at. What are my biggest needs? Well, Ryan and I, we did our draft, and I have been awarded the number 3 pick, which means I'm not getting Fernando Mendoza, and I'm angry at a randomizer I can't yell at. So right now I'm leaning Ruben Bain, Peter Woods, and Tate, and a couple others, but I'm leaning Bain with leaving room for guys who I should take a long look at. I kind of said no to Downs, not because he wouldn't be an easy selection, but if I take Downs, Ryan will murder me. And honestly, like I probably should, but I'm not taking Downs from Ryan. I'm not doing that.
Well,
and
hey, I've taken many players from you, so if it happens, it happens. But and also, interesting fact, I did see a couple rumblings from people that normally don't make rumblings unless there's actually something behind them. That said Ruben Bain's arms are reportedly 31 inches or lower.
And that would
if
that
that
would
happens, if that happens, what, push an interior that he's going to be a D tackle
now? So if I could swallow 32, but I can't take 32-inch arms at number 3 overall.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting if that see what happens when the official measurements come out, but.
If they're less than 32, then I got some problems. But even at 32, I'm like, can I take that in round 1? So I am not a what's the Ohio State kid, the edge rusher everyone claims as a linebacker.
Oh, Arvell Reese.
Yeah, I am not an Arvell Reese guy. If you keep calling him a linebacker, linebackers still go top 5. He's an edge rusher. And so interestingly there, now again, when I look at the athleticism stuff, that's going to change things because I've now developed an athleticism rating formula that Ryan and I tested, and we're excited. Yeah. We're excited. So his athleticism metrics could convince me to go Arvell Reese, and Tate. And I'm still high on Peter Woods. So there, I got room to go there. But yeah, if Bain, I can't ride with that arm length in a top 5 pick.
Yeah,
I just can't. Would I take a long, hard look if he's down in 32 where the Niners are going to be? Then see what I did there. That's a different question. But I'm going to be, I'm going to be very interested in that arm length measurement because that is, for me, that is a very hard sell. So those are all the things I remember us talking about.
Yeah. One thing I want to say too is Matt was talking about the formula that he's been working on that we looked at, and we're going to continue to try to build that throughout the off season and hopefully employ that really next year. But by testing it over the summer and everything, And the interesting thing with that is I wish we would have had a channel at the beginning of when we started this a couple years ago, just so we could see, our growth as talent evaluators. Because we had our opinions, and our opinions were based off of metrics and what we watched and everything. But over the last couple of years, we've dove so much further into things that I think we're getting better at it. We're getting more consistent with it, and I think that's going to show as our drafts continue on too, because we're both looking back at our first year and like, why did I do that? I hit on my first 2 picks, but outside of that, not a lot of love there. So it's more, we're kind of building that up. So I'm excited to talk about those numbers, and hopefully next season when we go through the draft process, we'll be able to actually show those numbers and not reveal necessarily the formula or anything, but show you our rating and where people fall and the historical data that supports that it's a solid metric as well.
Yep. So we won't get I'm not getting into the details of how the formula works in what I'm measuring, but a fair question is, what's the difference between what you're doing in the RAS? Why are you doing math? Just get the RAS score. If you know more about it, please comment. Let me know. But my very rudimentary understanding of the RAS score is it's a relative athletic score, which is taking all the data and seeing where it ranks amidst that positional peer, which is great. But that's all that it does. The formula we've done looks at the most predictive metrics for each position based on hours of research, hours and hours of research. And it doesn't just comparatively rate it, it compares it to a standard. What does it mean to be tall enough? What does it mean to be too tall? What does it mean to be have arms that are long enough? And what does it mean to have arms that are too short? And I don't know if you can have too long of arms, but these are all things. And then how do they all relate together? So it is not just a direct comparison between one person and the field. It is a comparison to that person and the metrics that matter to that position based upon what the best in the position represent in those physical traits.
Yeah. So awesome. All right. So I'll hop into my team here a little bit. If you want to go look at your Shedeur Cam Ward, I think you were looking at earlier.
Yeah, I wanted to. Yeah, let me do that.
But yeah. So for me, I do think my players had a couple players drop a little bit from stars to above average. A couple fell to awful. So I think my stuff leveled out a little bit because I feel like I was riding high a little bit with some of my players. But some players I'll point out that are starting to get more snaps. Isaiah Williams with the Jets is a phenomenal return man. So he's my return specialist, but he's starting to get on the field a little bit more too as a wide receiver. And he's that like twitchy slot type guy that would have been great for the Bengals, but for some reason the Bengals kept a guy they chose to now cut instead over top of this guy, which is sad. And so that's one of my ones that has moved up. Audric Estime all of a sudden started getting some snaps with the Saints, which is kind of cool. He was decent last year. Harold Fannin continues to be Harold Fannin. Shedeur Sanders has made him even more of a target. Harold Fannin Jr. Has 717 snaps already. Has nearly as many yards as Tyler Warren, the other top rookie. He's one of the leading producers out of the tight end room, and the targets he's getting is absurd. It's almost like that's exactly what he did all through college. It's weird. So I love what he's doing. Blake Fisher has been an interesting one this year. He was pretty bad last year, and this year he's been like the sixth O lineman, getting a ton of little snaps, and he's been solid at that. So that's good. I've got a handful of other guys I've started to get some snaps again with Cedric Van Pran, Christian Haynes, who were unhealthy and now are healthy, and they're not doing great, but they're there, they exist. But where I'm still feeling pretty good about myself is on defense. The one position I think I would say I am set, I think, in one position, and that would be the edge room, as long as I keep these two here, would be Abdul Carter and Donovan Ezraku, who both have above 70, with Ezraku at a 76.9. That's both of them over 500 snaps. Ezraku is my I told you so. That's the one I wanted the Bengals to draft. I wanted him to be, if the Bengals would have drafted him, I think he does enough for us this year to where we're still in the playoff hunt today. So that's super frustrating because I think had the Bengals just listened to me, we would be in the playoffs and killing it. And then an interesting one. So Byron Murphy was my first round pick last year, my very first pick of, and he was okay last year at best. Actually, not really great last year at all. But this year, he's really turned it around. And I actually saw somebody, right before this started, tweet out in his second season, he's currently second in sacks for defensive tackles at 7. He's third in run stops with 30, ninth in pressures with 41, and has an 11% pass rush win rate as a defensive tackle, which is ninth. And if he gets 3 more sacks and gets to 10 before the season is over, it would be the youngest defensive tackle to do that since Ndamukong Suh in 2010. So he has really bounced back this year. And I know he battled with some injuries last year, so I'm feeling good about that pick now. But other than him, real light at the D tackle room. My linebackers, Sean Dolak continues to be great whenever he's on the field, but unfortunately that's been for 42 snaps. Peyton Wilson is a roller coaster. He's not great. He's a star from the special teams room, but he's not great when it comes to the actual playing defense. So it has been a little bit of a rough season for him. The other interesting one, this had just started the last time. The last time I mentioned that Josh Wallace, all of a sudden for the Rams, moved to safety. And now he has 239 snaps there, and he has a 68.7 grade. And he's actually so Xavier Watts I have down here. I have Xavier Watts at number 47 out of 98 on PFF of those with enough snaps to qualify. And my guy Josh Wallace, who just switched to safety, actually rates higher than that, which is interesting. Now, are the Rams going to keep him there because he was a corner half the season and now he's a safety? Who knows? I can't count on that. So it doesn't take me out of the safety conversation at all. My corners, I've got for sure a star in Quinyon Mitchell. Feel good about that one. Chris Johnson is my Quinyon Mitchell this year out of San Diego State. He's the guy that I think is going to have that rise from a smaller school. And then Cam Hart's he's solid. He's not great. He's not bad. He's just solid. He's a capable starter. Like I mentioned, Xavier Watts, he's fallen off a little bit, but he is still doing well. And then my punter's solid. My long snapper, not so much. But overall, I feel like I'm doing pretty well in terms of actual starter snaps. You can see it down here. I've got 34 players that have played on offense or defense and 32 that have played special teams. I have 14 that I would consider with starter snaps right now. 2 that are rotational snaps and 2 that are contributor snaps. And then 15 that I would consider special team starters. But that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for actual starters. So I've got 14 that are actually getting starter snaps. But if I was a betting man, I would say 5 or 6 of those could easily lose their job. Because, Jared Wilson, yeah, he's getting starter snaps. He's got a 52.2 grade. He's not playing great. I've got Alec Iomanner, who is definitely not a wide receiver one. And then over here on this side, Cam Hart you could see him get replaced. Peyton Wilson, you could definitely see him get replaced. I wouldn't be Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers are not in a position to get a quarterback or something like that. I could definitely see them going linebacker pretty early, or signing one. So I am cautiously optimistic. I feel like I've got a solid base forming for my team, but definitely still a ways away. Positions I'm targeting, I'm definitely targeting quarterback, but based off of this class, that target is probably going to be in the middle rounds. And we'll kind of talk. We can talk about that here in a minute. What we're looking at there, but the other ones are honestly anything. But defensive backs, linebackers, and wide receivers, I think, are going to be the ones that I focus on the most. I would like defensive tackles as well, but I'm not super high on the defensive tackle class. So it depends on who falls to me and what's available. But overall, I'm cautiously optimistic, is what we'll say. What'd you
Yeah,
find?
I mean, just the sheer number of people getting starting snaps.
Yeah.
I got to give Gunnar Helm a shout out because he didn't meet the 441 threshold, but I got a lot of optimism. I'm feeling proud of him. So, but when you got 15 guys getting starter snaps, you at least have the ability to believe, hey, even if these guys get replaced, they're solid depth guys. They might get
Yeah, they're going to be on rosters. Yeah, they're going to be on rosters.
I because I only have 5 guys getting starter snaps, and I think I said 7 guys getting the other reps. That kind of has an impact on it.
Yeah.
So are we both in the same boat where we're like, hey, really? I don't have any home run superstars, so I'm open for anything.
Yeah, pretty much. I've got some guys that look like they have some really good upside, but none of them are like full blown stars or anything yet. So I'm definitely open to anything. Did you find out your answer on Cam Ward and Shedeur?
I did. So maybe if we decide to cut this up here. So I saw a tweet that said something to the effect, and call me out on this. Shedeur Sanders is awful because he has a high percentage of sacks that are his fault.
Okay, yeah.
That was what got me in there. So that got me to thinking. And I'm like, cool, that's a metric. I can follow that, especially because we have a PFF account. So let's start here. Shedeur Sanders right now, he's at a 45.9. Cam Ward is there at a 56.1. And to be fair, the guy showing out the best is Tyler Shough. I would argue Tyler Shough has a better line and at least a star wide receiver. And that's not me being defensive. I'm saying people look better when they have a line. Mm-hmm. Neither Ward nor Sanders have those same assets. Jackson Dart's sitting there at a 69.1. But my point is, we're not talking between Ward and Shedeur. And if your argument's, well, Ward's on a bad team, Shedeur's on a bad team, you have to take the same argument and make it. So then you just go to passing grades. And when you look at where he's at passing, he's the lowest ranked among the starters. That is true. But again, like, what are we talking about? We're talking about Sanders being number 5 of 5, like guys who got a certain number of reps, but Sanders still only has 138 attempts, which he still hasn't thrown the ball as often as Dillon Gabriel.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at a metric and comparing a guy who still hasn't had the number of attempts. But you want to know who has the most yards per attempt? That would be Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
You want to know who's number 2 in big time throw? That would be Shedeur Sanders. So yeah, he's there. But then let's go to this pressures allowed stat. So if you go to PFF and you have a PFF account, you should have one. They don't sponsor us, but we'd be cool with it if they did. You can look at the allowed pressure metric, and sure enough, I got to admit, there's Shedeur Sanders sitting at number two in all of the NFL. Hey, Ryan, just a quick question. We've confirmed Jackson Dart is the future in New York, right?
I believe so, yeah.
More. He is number one. He is the only one who has more sacks that he's responsible for than Shedeur. So why is Jackson Dart the future when he's above Shedeur, but Shedeur is bad for being number two in the category? Jackson Dart's worse at then.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, let's talk about a few other guys. Lamar Jackson, how many MVPs does he have?
Deserving, or I'm just kidding. 2.
Yeah. Hey, he's number 3, right behind Shedeur. You want to know who number 4 is?
I mean, that would be Patrick Mahomes.
That would be Patrick Mahomes. You want to know who number 5 is?
Let's hear it.
Josh Allen. So tell me, go ahead. Tell me they're bad. I'll wait. When you're a playmaking quarterback, you have to inherently accept more risk. That's how it works. So yes, all of them take sacks they shouldn't, but they make plays no one else makes. So if you're telling me that he's evil incarnate for this reason, I'm just going to call you out. Because again, Shedeur Sanders in among the worst in pressure grade passing. Shedeur Sanders, he's in the top 10 for the worst, right? But Baker Mayfield's right above him. Lamar Jackson is far above him. Lamar Jackson. So when you throw these metrics at me and you're like, he's bad for this metric, I'm like, cool. Then you just said Lamar Jackson stinks. I didn't. You did. I'm using the stick you're beating Shedeur to death with. Do I think Shedeur is going to Hall of Fame? I don't know. But I'm going to take the metric you give and look at it holistically because I have a YouTube channel. So I don't need to sit there and look around and be like, hey, let's look at this and talk about this one thing. And I'm going to do this little thing. Haha, look at Shedeur. I'm like, cool. But if Shedeur is bad for this reason, then Jackson Dart's even worse. If Shedeur is bad for this reason, Pat Mahomes is even worse. Come on, man. Yeah, I'm trying to keep my faith. But
yeah. So did you talk about pressure to sack percentage? Because I have that up.
Oh, what is that, Ryan?
Yeah. So pressure to sack percentage, which is something that I value more. I looked at people that have at least 20% of the snaps or dropbacks as a quarterback, and Shedeur Sanders is currently right now 14th lowest. And so people that are sacked more often at a higher rate per pressure that they have. Some of the people that are worse than Shedeur this year.
Sacked more often.
Sacked more often when they are pressured. CJ Stroud, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow this year, Jaden Daniels, Josh Allen, Jackson Dart by a lot, by nearly 5%. Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, Drake May, Tua, Lamar, Kyler, all those. Tyler Shook. Tyler Shook is sacked on 27.5% of his pressures. With Shedeur, it's at 15.7, right. A whole 10% less. So that is, like, to me, that's a better metric. Like, while yes, he may have a lot of sacks that are attributed to him, he also gets sacked on a less frequent basis per pressure.
So all of that is the first thing I'm always going to point out is when you're using one piece of evidence to degrade one human being, and that same piece of evidence degrades other guys who you claim are good, that's a hypocritical action you are taking. Don't be a hypocrite.
Yeah. I
don't know what Shedeur is other than a rookie quarterback on a bad team. That is factual. He's made some plays and he's done some really, really poor decision making. I would rather have a quarterback who's making mistakes because he's trying than a quarterback who'd rather never do anything because he's not willing to try. And that's what Dylan Gabriel showed himself in his 5 point something yards per attempt. And look, I'm not saying Dylan Gabriel is a bad human being. I'm saying what I look for in a quarterback is one who's willing to take more risk. He absolutely needs to come down a bit. The same way Josh Allen did, to be fair. There are a lot of favorable comparisons. Do I really think Shedeur is Josh Allen? I don't know. But what I will not allow any human to do to another human is say, you bad cuz. And I'm like, well, here's your stick. And this is how that stick compares to people who have multiple Super Bowl trophies. So that can't be right. That cannot be right. Or, hey, you're bad because, and I'm like, cool, then this individual who has multiple MVP awards is also bad. That can't be right. So I am more than willing, if you have data, but if you look at the data, I'm not just going to look at, oh, well, Shedeur ranks dead last because this is how we're data driven, but we're not data concealant. We're not data propaganda. When you give me a metric, I'm going to look holistically at it, because when I saw that, I thought maybe he does suck. And then I'm like, well, if he sucks, then like literally the last 3 MVPs are trash. So that's not rational.
Yeah.
So you can hate Shedeur for whatever reason you want, because hate is a heart issue. That's not a metric. You are at liberty. I hate Stafford for no other reason than he plays for the Rams. It's not rational. I don't really hate him, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. You can not like a human, but it is different to say, well, I think he's objectively bad. And every time someone says he's bad for this reason, I literally just looked at 1, 2, 3, 4, and he looked at a 5th. And I'm like, if he's bad, Tyler Shook and Jackson Dart are worse. Why are we saying they're the future? How does that? It can't be both. I need a t-shirt, Ryan. It can't be both. The same thing must be true across the same circumstances under the same conditions.
Yeah.
So, now that we have, vehemently defended our views here, the only reason I'll say you can say this person bad because is off the field things. That's where I'm like, yes, you can call that person bad if they do bad things off the field. I'll allow that. But going into next year, we are in the heavy data compilation stage right now of the draft process. So we've got another month and a half till like the All-Star games start to happen, and then another month after that is when the combine starts to happen, and that's when we'll have our official measurements and all that stuff. So we're really just starting to build our boards. We have a good idea of the boards that we like so far, but there's a lot of stuff that has to happen between now and then. But one thing that I wanted to talk about, Matt, is let's say we're in a world that we both miss out on a quarterback in the first round because looking like it looked like there's gonna be 2 guys that probably go 1-2 with Mendoza and Moore. And then it might be a hot minute till the next quarterback. So who are like the 2 guys and what round right now are you thinking that these are the 2 guys I'd be interested in?
So do you want to talk about yours first? Because I wasn't ready for that question.
Yeah, sure. So the one that I have no clue what round, because I don't know how the league's going to end up looking at him, and I don't even know if he's going to get a shot to show the league what he can do, is Cole Payton out of North Dakota State. He is a guy that's just like, he's like my guy. Like, I love this player, love watching him play. You look at all his metrics, and he is basically right on par or above Josh Allen from his Wyoming days in almost every metric. And you can argue Wyoming and North Dakota State, like competition levels, not much different. So I'm pretty high on him, and I definitely want to see how he does if he gets a chance to go anywhere, because that's a player that I really would be interested in taking a flyer on. I right now would say I would take him probably early day 3, but who knows how the consensus ends up viewing him. The consensus right now has him in the 400s. But the other one that I'm really looking at is probably going to end up being, and this is based off of people that I know have to come out, is probably going to be Drew Aller, if I'm being completely honest. And the reason for Drew Aller is because, one, he's pretty young. He's relatively young for the amount of experience he has in college. And while this year was rough, he has proven that he can hit a lot of NFL throws. And I definitely don't think he's ready to start by any means. And he's coming off that injury. So I think he is the type of guy. He's 6'5", can stand in the pocket and throw, and he's also got some legs to him. He can run. So I think there's going to be a team that says, this is a guy I can sit and develop with the hopes that maybe he develops into a star, because he does have that pedigree. I think Drew Aller is going to be the guy that the other guy I'm looking at. What about you?
So I heard you mention Cole Payton.
Mm-hmm.
If my shadow team were more filled out, I would take him at the top of the 3rd round.
Yeah, same.
But because I need my top 6 picks to be home runs because of how terrible I've been doing, I can't take a non-first round graded quarterback out in the top 100. I can't take him in the first 3 rounds. Do I take him right away in round 4 if he's standing there and Ryan hasn't beat me to him? Maybe, like very, very, very possibly. And the other guy who I think is because he didn't play up to his standard, people think he played much worse than he did. But I would be delighted if Cade Klubnik fell to round 4.
Yeah.
So I have to be honest. The grade for Carson Beck says he should be in the first round conversation.
Okay.
I cannot pretend that Carson Beck's performance grade deserves that consideration. He certainly should be considered in round 2. Although if you go back and look at the data that I provided you, if you do not go in round 1, it is highly unlikely you're getting picked before round 5. I think it's happened twice in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
That you got picked in round 2 and maybe once in round 3. It's just so rare. This is probably a year where people are going to swing a little sooner. They're going to take the backups.
Yeah.
I can't get over those press conferences. I don't know how I'm going to feel as the process delves out. Although I will say I listened to one of them, and while it wasn't what I would have coached him to say as a media specialist, the one I remember is he said, I thought the receiver was going to be here and the receiver was over there. That's not what you want your starting quarterback to say.
Yeah.
But it's also not inaccurate.
And it's also not necessarily a reflection of something the quarterback did, or if it's an overall team thing, because Clemson, there was just something going on this year. And it probably comes down to coaching and preparation, I think. And Klubnik could have been the most prepared guy in the world, but if the people he's trying to throw to aren't prepared and don't do what they're supposed to do, it can be rough. So that's definitely someone I'm going to be paying attention to as well.
So we'll see. I'm trying to have an open mind about Carson Beck, but I would have no issues taking K. Klubnik or Cole at the top of round 4. But I think I would be shocked if they're there, because I think your Rams and your Steelers, maybe even your Dolphins, all those guys who are outside, like anyone not 1 or 2, is going to take a smaller swing in round 2 or 3 at a guy who has tools they like.
Yeah.
Because then your worst case is, and again, that's why you hold on to Shedeur. Don't overdraft a guy. Don't overpay for a guy. Now, to take it all the way back to the Fernando Mendoza line, if you think Fernando Mendoza is him, there is no price too high.
Yeah.
If you believe Fernando Mendoza is a surefire Hall of Fame, can't miss guy, then give up 10 picks for him. You're probably wrong, statistically speaking, but the Chiefs were right about Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
So you take a swing at a guy you believe in. As much as I think of Fernando Mendoza, I think he's a guy you take if he falls to you in round 1. I do not think he's a guy you trade up for. So we might miss out on even that lower tier guy. And the only other guy, like, where are you at on Haynes King?
He's fun. The metrics, so like my metric, this is quarterback is not a metric that Matt and I have really worked on together yet. So my metric is getting me a lot of different viewpoints. He does relatively well in my metric, whereas Carson Beck is like a whole round or 2 behind him in my metric. So I have positive views of Haynes King, but in terms of how that transfers to the league, with the offense style that they ran, I'm not necessarily too sold on him. So he's a guy that I'll pay attention to, because I feel like he could be a fun like change of pace backup. Like what was the guy that was at he was at the Commanders for a while, and they loved him when he came in. Shoot, I can't remember his name. But yeah, the Commanders had a backup for a little while that came in before Jaden Daniels got there that people loved. And that's kind of like the comparable that I could say for him. So another one is Sawyer Robertson, who did not necessarily have a good year this year. But
a lot of tools to work with there.
He does have tools to work with, and I don't believe he has any eligibility left, so he should be coming out. And anytime there's a 6'4", 220 guy that can sling it, the league's probably going to have a flyer on him. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's that 5th round guy that goes. And a lot of it just depends on the situation they're in too, right? Because if we look at this year alone, Max Brosner wasn't supposed to get any starts.
Yeah,
but he did. It was horrific in every way. But he got a start. And so that's the thing, is like, you never know when you get drafted. Like, let's say the Bengals could draft a player, and Joe Burrow has had a rough history with injuries. Mm-hmm. And if they draft a guy and that becomes their number 2, that guy could be getting some starts. Mm-hmm. So you always gotta throw those shots until you have your star quarterback. You gotta keep throwing shots.
Yep. So I probably there's a planet where I take King in the just bear with me here, where I take him in round 5. I mean, he's 6. Hold on, let me go back.
6'3", 215.
He's 6'3", 215. All right. So he has 348 compared to Saints 382 in dropbacks, 324 to Saints 356, 230. So now Saint is more accurate by 7.4%. Saiyan has one more, like literally one more yard per attempt, right? But we're talking elite to like there's a whole lot of not bad with
Yeah.
Haynes King. And even during summer scouting, I'm like, why am I not talking about this guy more? And I still can't really find an answer to that question.
His one area where he struggles is his pressure grade. And one thing that I have in my metric is the drop off between no pressure and pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And his is pretty far because his no pressure grade is 91.5. Absolutely elite if there's no pressure, but it's only 54.4 with pressure.
Mm-hmm.
But other positives, he gets the ball out quick. He's got a 2.6 average time to throw. And his pressure to sack percentage is, let's see, how many people? There's one, two, there's only a few people that have lower than him. So when he's pressured, he doesn't get sacked very often, at only 9%.
So there's a lot to like. So if he makes it to round 5 and I didn't pick up Klubnik or Peyton, I like, what's it going to hurt? It's a 5th round pick.
Yeah.
Now before you light me up, I compared it to Saiyan because everyone's already thinking about Saiyan and like, what if the Browns get Saiyan and Jeremiah Smith? And I'm like, well, you're still hoping that guys come out, and I think they're less likely to come out these days. And I don't think they're in the same class in terms of potential. But when you just step away from the name and the recognition and the logo on the helmet, and you just look at it, like there's a lot to like. And I to be fair, I kind of feel about Haynes King the way I felt about Brock Purdy when we first started like talking draft. And I'm like, why is no one talking about this kid? Now with Brock, it was like, well, he's like, what's Brock Purdy's height? 6'1"?
I think so. Is that a real 6'1" or is that a Diego Pavia 6'1"?
He's an internet 6'1", I'll tell you that much. You know, so when I saw that and I go, oh, I get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not an arm strength guy. So I think that's I think that's a myth. And even if you can zip it in there, we're right back on that Ferris wheel. Well, Shador's awful because he does this. And I'm like, that's literally what Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen and like hold on. What do you, you know? And if your argument's, well, when they do it, it works. Like the big time throw rate is similar. Like you can't, you got to look at everything, guys. So I'm a Haynes King fan. Do I take him number 1? Am I saying he's the best quarterback in the class? No. But I have the same production grade for Haynes King that I do for Carson Beck, and I have less character concerns with Haynes King.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I think this is going to be one of those that, we're aiming for those mid day 3 guys that we hold on to, because if we look at our actual teams as they stand right now, there are not a lot of positives to talk about. So, I mean, if I'm looking at like your team, you've got Jack Plummer and Shedeur Sanders. You probably at worst have a solid backup for a few years with Shedeur Sanders. At worst. Me, I've got Sam Hartman and Max Brosmer. Brosmer, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get back on the team next year with how he performed in the little bit that he did. Especially if JJ keeps playing at least as he is right now. And then, Sam Hartman, he's never going to see the field. So
I want to be fair to you, though. You didn't draft those guys thinking they were going to be the guy.
No.
So you haven't, like, I swung on Shedeur, and my biggest frustration is I don't know if I'll ever really get, Cam Ward's going to get at least 2 years.
Yeah.
Now I will say there are a lot of people who think Cam Ward is a bust. And if you say Cam Ward and Shedeur are awful, then you are making more logical sense than some other people. But the odds are like Cam Ward's going to get a year, the same kind of year. Who came in after Fields was in Chicago? Didn't another guy come in and be like, no, I can work? No, that wasn't like they gave Fields.
Yeah, they gave Fields some time. Fields was the one that came in after shoot, what's his name? The kid from forget who Chicago drafted. He came in after someone else.
Yeah. So the point is, and my fluffy one wants to go outside. The thing is, oh, can you help me out? The I'm hurt because you can point at how he's playing and be like, you were wrong. And I'm like, how many first round picks get so much time? And again, like the shortest leash ever was Josh Rosen.
Yeah.
And that was rough. I guess who was the guy? The Jets had a guy, but he got like he was put into another plan and just Zach Wilson. He didn't do that. Although I was never that high.
Josh Rosen didn't even have a short leash. He had nothing. And then
you guys see ya.
Kyler Murray didn't work out either. Yeah, he got paid, but it's not like he's done anything.
And that goes to a whole other conversation. But you know, and we're both going to take a swing in 27 because we're not going to get Mendoza or Moore. You're probably more likely to take Moore. If there's some planet, if Moore falls to 3, I might offer you a trade.
If I am comfortable enough to where I'll sit there at 4, and if he's there at 4, I might take him. But I honestly think if Moore comes out, it's going to be him and Mendoza 1 and 2. Just because I think somebody will at least trade up a little bit. I think they're more likely to trade up for Moore.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there are some toolsy upside there that people will like better.
Yeah. So, but it's one of those things. It's not a deep class. And someone's probably going to end up having a solid career of the people that are drafted in the day 3. Mm-hmm. But solid career could mean 10 years as a backup. A solid career could mean they have 1 or 2 splash years and then don't see much. So who knows? But I think we're gonna start to wrap it up here now. But this will be our last one for a while. We're not going to be back at least until the beginning of the new year. And I think January 6th is when it's scheduled. We're going to start talking about all the bowl games that have happened, and we'll kind of summarize all those. Right now we got Jackson State and Troy at the half, with Troy up 13-7. So we'll talk about all those bowl games, and over the holidays, Matt and I are gonna we'll probably post some stuff here and there, but we're gonna focus on figuring out our plans for next year. We have some general ideas of how we're going to talk draft, but what we can say is we're gonna talk a lot of draft. So get ready for that. And I also plan on politely reaching out to quite a few people once the new year starts. There's a lot of players and front office type people in college that had given me some tentative yeses, and they said reach back out after the season's over. So I'm going to be doing that here soon. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, we're just glad to keep talking and sharing our thoughts as we build our stuff. What do you got? Anything to say for Matt before we call it a night?
No, I'm just kind of looking forward to being able to like turn the page and really focus more on this class as a draft class and getting our boards refined and really getting a clear picture on what we're thinking.
Yeah. And also next year we're definitely going to be doing player spotlights again over the summer, where we do summer scouting and we follow those guys throughout the year. if there's players that you're interested in that you think we should follow, throw them in the comments. Let us know. But from Matt and I both at Draft to the Future, we want to wish you a happy holidays. I hope you enjoy some time with family. And thanks for stopping in tonight. Make sure you like and subscribe.